Order. I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Mr. Ruggles.
Here.
Mr. Paul.
Here.
Andrea Voorhees.
Present.
Liz Smith.
Present.
Mr. Roman.
Here.
Mr. Lilly's here. Mr. Supervisor.
Here. I would like to talk about the agenda. Are there any additions or omissions to the agenda, please? Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to add the following items to the agenda tonight. New list of bills dated 12/20/16. Also, the treasurer's report. Those items will be included in the consent agenda. Also, I'd like under reappointments to boards and commissions that Andrea Voorhees be appointed again to the Parks and Recreation. And also the addition of Resolution 16047 under 9E.
Very good.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have support?
Support.
Mr. Powell, you support that? Thank you. Oh, comment? Michael?
Terry, did you get the budget amendment for the sale of fixed assets as well?
Oh, we can put that on.
Okay, if you could please add that on.
Okay. I'll amend my motion to include the budget amendment for the sale of the property.
I'll amend my support.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'd like to open this section up to public comments. If there's someone who would like to speak at this time, you'll be given 3 minutes, and these are generally for items that are not on the agenda, although if it flows over, I guess that's okay. Is there anyone in the crowd that would like to speak at this time? All right, moving on. Moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is a list of bills, revenues, expenses, check disbursements, department reports, police, fire, community development, treasurer, budget amendments, and items of sort. Mr. Clerk, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ruggles?
Yeah, I have one correction to make.
Yes.
The consent agenda under 6G, it's under appointment. It says Scott Ruggles, and it says term expires Board Ruggles. I think it should say Board Liaison.
Yes, that was a grammatical error. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Anything else? Mr. Clerk?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Support?
Sorry, I have another
Oh,
question.
what's your question?
Can we discuss the consent agenda, or do we need
Sure.
to remove an item?
You can, if there's any item that you want to discuss, we can discuss it.
Maybe, yeah, I have a question about 6H. Maybe you could give me a briefing on what that is. There's just a excessive amount of money being funded.
That was actually an amount of money that was received for the Lakeview sewer project that were refundable items to the individuals. The project did not go through, and therefore those amounts of money will be refunded back to those homeowners.
I can expand on that a little bit. The Lakeview Sewer Project was a project that we had planned on doing as an SAD. I think 3 homeowners. The actual cost to do the project came out more than twice what the estimate was. And so the homeowners decided not to go through with the project. And at this point, within the consent agenda, we're asking to refund to them their permit fees, their abandonment of their own septic system fees, and part of what they paid for the actual main extension that never took place.
Thanks.
So,
Any other questions on the consent agenda? Michael?
I'll support it.
Okay, support. All those in favor? Oh,
Last question.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
On, I
The resolution on.
You're supposed to stand and identify yourself for the record, please.
Bob Lessa, 350 Farnsworth. The question I have is, there was money paid probably to Anderson to do the engineering costs. And what were those costs and who's paying for those costs?
I do not have a specific line item on that cost at my immediate disposal. Michael, do you have?
I
that?
don't either. That's something we can always look into for you, Bob.
Because it was brought to the board's attention, in fact, Mr. Powell brought it up, that if Lakeview wanted to do that, whatever the fee was, if they decided not to, those fees for Johnson Anderson were still gonna get paid by the non-SAD that was not gonna be created. So the SAD was either gonna pay for it, and if they decided not to because the costs were too high, they were still obligated to pay for the Johnson and Anderson, whatever that bill was.
That may have been the suggestion, but that is not how the agreement was written, was drafted.
That's what was discussed at the board level. Does that mean that bill goes into the sewer fund, so the sewer users have to pay for that expense?
I'm not exactly where we're going to classify that particular expense right now, but unfortunately, there's been a history in this township from previous administrations, and I'm not trying to pass the buck, that there has been expenses put out and not necessarily earmarked at specific funds to be drawn from. And this is something that's I'm looking into to try to close that hole.
Okay, I have a suggestion. When an SAD comes forward and some party wants to create an SAD, it'd be nice to get those funds up front from an estimate of Johnson and Anderson, so the taxpayers aren't
Exactly, and
stuck on the bill.
you couldn't be more right. And I've already had a briefing with the in-house officials that we are going to set up a program for any future projects like this, not necessarily the sewer, but any particular projects that require engineering, that there is a feasibility study done, and that there is an agreement between the individuals, more or less like a contract, that will state specifically, if we go ahead with this project, you will have a certain financial obligation to cover the cost of any of these engineering and in-house expenses that we have for this. The township cannot afford to do these types of projects and not have some sort of financial recourse against individuals that want it. It's fine that a community may want something, but there is a cost to it, and individuals will ultimately have to bear that cost if they decide not to do the project. If they do the project, then those particular funds would be automatically rolled into the SAD, and it's just buried in the cost of doing the business. So your point is well taken, and is a point that I have brought up. Terry expressed an interest in it, Mike and I, we looked at it, and we thought we've got to put a cork in this hole, because it just can't be done. Yeah, that's the only fair way to do it.
Agreed.
And this is something that we're going to be coming up with a sort of document that will deal with council to make sure that that is in place, so this does not happen again. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Piccinato.
Pete Pincinato, 8771 Townsend Drive. I guess a question about the consent agenda. Since I've been coming to these meetings, I never saw a resolution buried in a consent agenda. It's always been out and open for discussion to the public. I guess, why did this one get stuck in the consent agenda?
Because it was merely a refund. It was merely a refund of the funds that people paid. There was no intent in anything other than that. Any other questions? Where were we?
You have motion and support?
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 7, presentation. We have a swearing in of a new firefighter. Chief?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, board and citizens. I'd like to introduce our newest member of the White Lake Township Fire Department. His name is Andrew Morelli. Let me tell you a little bit about Andrew. He was actually hired in June of 2015 as a paid-on-call, and he's been working. He had worked as a paid-on-call for us and did really well, responding to a lot of calls and learning the trucks and the ambulance and all the tools and equipment that he had to. So when an opportunity came up for him to test for a career division position that opened up. Andrew, had tested with a group of other individuals, and he scored pretty well on our list. So we were able on August 28th, 2016, to bring him on to the career division. And due to a few things going on with the fire department and with the township having a lot on their agenda, we've kind of moved it to tonight to get him sworn in. And so I'm very happy to tell you a little bit more about Andrew. He has a bachelor's degree in biomedical laboratory science from Michigan State. And you may look at that and think, well, gee, that's a little bit odd. He finds himself here in the fire service and he has this degree. And I think, what he did is he had this interest all along, got his degree, but, really pursued his dream, which is to work for the fire department and, and serve the public and help people. And so, here he is, and we know he's got a pretty good track record. He's a good learner and a good student, so we know he can do well. In fact, he's already a licensed EMT and a firefighter 1 and 2 certified, and he's enrolled right now in the paramedic program at OCC. So hopefully he's about a little over a third of the way through, and maybe by this time next year he'll be a licensed paramedic. And there's a lot to that. There's at least a good 10 months of training and clinicals. And how many hours of clinicals now do they require for you?
150 a semester, so it'll be about 700 by the time we're done.
Yeah, if you can imagine, years ago when the numbers were very low of clinical hours needed, now needing 700 hours, the paramedic students of today are put through a lot more rigorous training and hands-on with the clinicals. So he's going to be doing that. And with Andrew, we put him through a real extensive background investigation, and I had got the full report and talked to the gentleman who does that for us, a retired person from the police service, and really commented what a stellar background check that Andrew had. Talking to all his relatives and references and former employers. He really had an outstanding review. So we're really proud to bring him on to the White Lake Township Fire Department. And he's working a 24-hour shift now, which is kind of the first time because he's been in school on 40 hours for a lot, so he's getting used to that. But I'd like to get him officially sworn in then now, if we could.
Mr. Clerk?
Bring the clerk up.
You want me to
Please raise your right hand.
just right here?
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
career firefighter
career firefighter
for the Township of White Lake,
for the Township of White Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and we almost missed Andrew tonight because he had a car fire they were on, and I thought, okay, well, we might have to mix this agenda around a little bit. I'm glad he made it in. He is wearing his badge. I mean, he's been on duty, so we've got that all taken care of. And but I would like everybody to welcome Andrew Morelli.
I'd like to congratulate you, Andrew, and welcome to the department.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, all right.
Okay, next item will be 7B. It's Browns Island Retreat, Dawson Island. Mr. O'Neill?
I don't know that we necessarily had any real presentation prepared, and I'm not sure that Fire Marshal Holland is going to be able to make it tonight, but
No, he's not.
okay. We received a request to meet with and I don't have anything to project, I'm just messing with the screen. We received plans for a home well, they're calling it Brown's Island now. It was Dawson's Island on White Lake. And there's a gentleman who's purchased all the lots. It's an old plat and is wanting to build a home. I don't know that they've necessarily applied quite yet, but this is the home that they're wanting to build out there. There is no power, there is no sewer, there is no water out there at this time. We had a meeting with all the departments, public safety departments, building department. I was there as well, and we talked about some of the struggles and challenges with building a new home on the island. And so I think tonight we wanted to simply make you aware in the event that you're hearing from residents, as some of the departments have heard concerns and calls from residents, that someone is making application, that we are looking into it, and we are making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed if this person does intend to move ahead. Obviously, I think the biggest concern that came out of that meeting was for public safety. We don't have a boat. This island isn't accessible maybe in some months because there may be ice but not enough ice to get across with equipment, things like that. So those are things that came up, long response time. So I don't know if the police department is here. I don't know if Dan, if you have anything to add. Really it was just more of an FYI and kind of getting all the concerns out there on the floor for discussion. So wasn't sure if the applicant was going to be here tonight, and I don't know if I've missed anything that you wanted to cover, but
No, I think Holland just wanted to make you guys aware of the sophomore applications. If you build a house on an island, there's no way to get back and forth in an expedited manner.
It truly is an isolated piece of real estate, so.
and there are going to be several challenges, including where you land this, where you bring people onto the island and over to the mainland, things like that, and we'll update you as we get information, or if you have any questions, let us know.
Okay, so this was more of an FYI.
Yes.
Okay. Mr.
I do
Powell.
have a question. Maybe supervisor can work with corporate counsel. I don't know if there's a hold harmless or something that the homeowner can sign to recognize the fact that the township cannot provide the services like we can other places.
That's actually a good point. Okay, anything else to add?
More of an FYI, but
Yeah.
nothing else at this point.
Anybody have a question in the audience on it? Yes, sir. State your name for the record, please.
Bob Parrott from White Lake. Will those pictures and plans be available at the township here?
Absolutely. At this point, this is real conceptual, but as soon as an application's made and we have actually a proposal to share, they're absolutely available publicly. And if you want to give me a call, I'd be happy to keep you up to date on that.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Item number 8A, the minutes of November 14th, 2016. Michael.
I'll make a motion to approve board minutes from November 14th of 2016.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of November 14th, 2016 by Mr. Roman.
Support.
That's support by Mr. Scott Ruggles. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Minutes of November 15th, 2016. Mr. Roman?
Motion to approve minutes of November 15th of 2016.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes of November 15th, 2016.
I'll support that.
I have support by Andrea Voorhees. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. Item number 9, new business, county reverted properties. Mr. Treasurer.
Okay, so we've got a few properties that went to tax sale. These did not sell, and the county then comes to the township and asks us we would like to take ownership of these parcels. We have until the end of the month to decide. It's my suggestion to the board to take title to the parcel ID 12-35-378-030, otherwise known as 1408 Caprice Drive. We do have a recorded lien on that for tearing the house down. My thought is we'll eventually be able to sell that property, and my recommendation would be to turn down the other 2 lots that are basically swampland. So I can put that in the form of a motion.
I'll support the motion.
Okay. Question, Mr. Powell.
I wondered whether or not Terry or Mike couldn't let us know what the history of the resale of these things have been in the township. Have we broken even? Have we lost money? And then I have a comment on this one from a different perspective as well.
Just my take on it, Mike, this parcel had been previously brought to the board, and the board rejected that, but being that it's coming back to the second time, there's no other financial obligations to the township. We can sell this property for whatever. I had the name of a person that lived adjacent to this property that may very possibly be interested in the property to cash us out of our financial obligation, but I'm not sure at this point, you know, if that's still good or not, but I will recontact to see if what we can do to try to get rid of that parcel and back on the tax roll again.
Essentially, we're out at this moment around roughly $7,300. Whatever we can recover will be ahead of the game. So by this action, we'll be able to recover something and recoup some of that expense that was lost during the demolition. And if we don't take title to this property, then we have no recourse to any of that, and we'll lose it all.
The lien is extinguished.
So,
Okay, well, I certainly recognize that, and I just, if we could talk to the people on either side in order to expand the property, that would be the first option.
correct.
Keep in mind that the Oakland County Health Department has really tightened down with their new sanitary code and approving a septic field on a new build lot. So if the house comes down, then it is that much tougher to get an approved septic field on it, and the township doesn't want to be in a position of appealing a decision from the health department, so.
I just wanted to clarify again, when I said this came to the board the last time on a recommendation, there were taxes due on the property. And at that time, we would have had to pick up not only our obligation, but all the tax liability as well.
Right.
Now that it's came back to the township, there is no tax liability.
Ah, okay.
So all we have will be the
Lien.
cost of the demolition that we could recover and move on.
Okay.
But I do believe the homeowner may be still interested.
Okay, good.
And
thanks.
we do have to make a notation that, as it states in this, that these properties will be deeded to unless you object in writing by no later than to the office no later than 4:30 p.m. December 30th, 2016. So we'll have to do a letter and instruct them to the fact that we will accept the one and refuse the other 2.
Right. Just out of curiosity, what happens to the 2 that we will not accept?
Goes into the abyss of the archives of Oakland County
Okay.
misfit property.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
So I had, is I taking that as a
I
motion?
motion.
A motion?
We have a motion.
Support by,
Support.
support by Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item. That next item will be Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to waive the massage license fee with the condition that it's based on an approved application at this point. We have waived the fees in the past. The lady there donates her services for massage at the Dublin Community Center. We've done this several times in the past and recommend that approval subject to the approved application.
Any questions?
This is just the basic housekeeping that we do every year for these
Correct.
guys, right? Okay.
It's an annual
Yep.
requirement under
Just
our
wanted to
ordinance.
refresh
that we
my
do.
memory.
Any
It's a
questions?
yearly requirement.
Yearly, yes.
Just one
Yes.
quick point. Just want to make sure that, and I don't know this lady. I wouldn't want her to be able to set up business in White Lake and then say that we've excused her fees. So this is just specifically for the services at the senior center.
This is site specific.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so, Michael?
I'll support Terry's motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 9C, Resolution 16-046, 2017 Board Meeting Dates. We have,
Sorry, I was gonna make a motion, sorry.
I beg your pardon?
I was gonna make a motion, sorry.
Oh, okay, we do have a couple, at this point in time, there is a time that, this would be the time to make adjustments to the schedule, although we do need to coordinate it to make sure that there is adequate time to make the notices that are necessary for all parties involved and to the public. And that was done today. The, Mr. Clerk, you care to read the changes?
Yeah, the March 21st date would be changed to March 14th. The May 16th meeting date would be May 23rd. And the June 20th date would be June 13th.
Very good. Any questions, anyone?
Were there reasons why we changed them? Because everyone was the third Tuesday.
Yes, very selfish reasons.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, as long as it wasn't
Mr. Lilly had concurrent clerk classes
Okay, okay.
that fall on that.
That's fine.
And I have a 25th wedding anniversary that falls on that, one of the dates.
I get you.
So, for very selfish reasons.
No, that's fine.
So, I would like a motion.
Mr. Supervisor, I'll make a
Yes.
motion to approve the amended resolution 16-046.
Support?
I have motion, I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 9D, reimbursement request for Wexford Manor Homeowners Association. Mr. Clerk, you have,
Mr. Supervisor, got a little bit involved in a situation that the Wexford Manor subdivision, that they put in a hydrant well system in lieu of a water system. Recently, we were presented a bill for the upkeep and maintenance. It is the township's responsibility to maintain that property as in our agreement. However, it's going to be my recommendation, if we approve the bill, that we talk at the next meeting about spreading a special assessment district to recover all future costs and the cost of this obligation upon the people of Wexford Manor to accept that obligation in the future. So, if it's going to go forward and we're going to give reimbursement to the developer, then we should follow right up with that request. And my opinion would be, Rick, to meet with both the developer as well as the president of their association or the representatives, and sit down and talk with them, not only in regards to the upkeep and maintenance on the hydrant well, but also any other maintenance that they may need or may want to do in the future on that special assessment district. So.
Mr. Powell.
I'm wondering, Terry, is it possible for you to produce the minutes of the board meeting in which that well was actually accepted as a public?
Yes, I could.
Could you do that?
Yeah. I don't have it at this meeting, Mike, but I could do that, yes.
The acceptance isn't in the minutes. There is actually a bill of sale to the township where they posted a 2-year maintenance bond.
All right, so the providing a bill of sale doesn't necessarily mean that it was accepted by the township board, correct?
The motion of the board, if I can paraphrase, is the board would accept and maintain that obligation, which, in my opinion, that's pretty much standard language that we've said in anything that we've accepted before. In lieu of that, yes, it is our obligation to take care of it. It's not there to go over there and hire somebody and do whatever they feel like doing. So, again, I'd like to follow up with a special assessment to recoup any costs that are associated with this item.
Obviously, the establishment of an SAD, unless they were willing to sign a petition, would be a township-initiated SAD, which has a lot of obligations to it as well. My suggestion is that if this ever comes to the township board, if anything like this comes to the township board again, this really ought to remain a condominium asset and not a township asset, with the township signing an agreement to be the municipal backup, but then back-billing the association for any maintenance, because it's an association responsibility, not a township responsibility to do that.
I think that's in concept what I'm suggesting, that we follow through with that, because
Yeah.
we can't keep doing this.
That was, I believe, an anomaly. There was some interesting, I read through all the documents that Terry provided, and it looked like there was some difficulties in doing what the township wanted. So as a concession, that township board, I don't remember when that was, agreed to allow this facility and then deed it to the township, which we do a lot when it comes to sewer and water, but then the township maintains it. Whereas in this case, they went and hired somebody, paid the bill, and then came to the township for reimbursement.
So how I would look at this, and I had some conversation with the in-house officials, is that this is really no different than a street light. A street light benefits a certain community in an area, whatever that may be. An SAD is set up to recover the costs of that light. Amenities as such like this that were required in order to build that development should be treated in such a manner. We may end up being the ultimate maintainer of it, but we should be reimbursed for the costs that are involved in it.
Because we have these type of fire hydrant wells all over, and it is an acceptable means of providing the fire
Yes, it is.
protection, but it's the property owner's responsibility to maintain it, not the township's. So-
Correct, and in this case, had that development not been there, this wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So it was a requirement of that development.
Okay.
So,
If Mr. Terry, if you could just email those to me, that would be great. Is legal counsel satisfied that legally this is a township responsibility, or should we table this for further evaluation based upon the language?
I've looked at all the documents. It looks like it's the township's responsibility.
Okay, then I'll accept that.
any questions? Yeah, Mike?
I looked at the same documents as Lisa and Terry, and I agree as well. At this point, we're responsible for this fee. I also agree with the board that future expenses should be borne by the residents that live in this community. But I would like to ask legal counsel to look into the best alternative to make this happen, whether it's an SAD or whether it's to go back to the association, whatever it is.
I thought with my recommendation of Rick meeting with the developer and the association, we may come up with a easy solution to this without spending a lot of attorney fees for investigations.
That's fine.
The developer is an extremely astute developer, let's put it that way, so negotiations may be a little bit tough. How many homes are currently in that sub? Do we know?
I don't remember.
Is it,
Maybe 12,
Approved
15
for
homes
16.
in Wexford.
okay, approved for
Approved for
16?
and most of them are probably either in or under construction
Okay.
at this point.
Okay,
The
thank you.
majority of them, I would say.
All right.
Like I had several meetings with the developer, Mr. Stolberg, over this issue, and told him very plainly that even though Lisa's recommendation was that we pay the bill, that my recommendation to the board is that we pursue some type of action on that. So I don't think he's going to be real upset about having the discussion about it. So
Okay.
And the cost ultimate would be split between 16 homeowners, and in the end all, it'd probably be there in their best interest to have that money is always available to maintain that facility.
Right.
So, any other further questions, comments? With that, I would like to see a motion for reimbursement.
I'll make a motion to reimburse Mr. Stolberg for the expenses of the hydrant well. I'm not sure what those are. I think they're about $19.50
$19.50.
in that neighborhood. reimburse him and then to follow through with my recommendations.
Support?
Support.
Mr. Roman? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item is add-on 9E, resolution amending resolution 16-026, 16-027, and 16-025, I think I have those, I beg your
6,
pardon.
7, and 08.
6,
Looks
7,
like there's a
08, I'm
typo.
sorry. Can't read my own writing. Okay. And Mr. Clerk, would you care to?
Mr. Supervisor, we had lengthy discussions in the last several months in regards to the water main on M59, mainly contracts 5, 6, and 8. And we had discussed that we would give people 90 days after notification that there would be 3 options available to them. The recent request went out beginning of December, which falls right at a very bad time, Christmas and New Year's. The date on that was dated in December. The original intent was to give them 90 days from application. The time period is really not a huge issue to this township. The main issue is sort of giving people an obligation to pay a debt back to the water department that's been due for over 10 years.
Right.
So the intent of the resolution is now to expand that December deadline to
Sort of a grace period.
20th, and then depending on how many react, maybe we may want to even consider extending it in the future, but right now that would give time for people to get through the holidays and to really consider which alternative. And I gotta say, as of today, the response has been pretty good.
Very good. So that our actions that we took proved fruitful.
Yep, we've had a number of people have paid in cash to get rid of that accumulated interest, and we have a few people in line right now, at least 5 that I know of, that are seeking 10-year agreements.
Very good, very good. Mr. Powell?
Does it make any sense, we've already given them 3 months, does it make any sense at all to start the interest rate accruing? Because you can think of it as not being fair. We gave the original 30 or 60 days or 90 days, and people have strung that out, and now we're going to another 90 days, and maybe we ought to start a clock running on some interest so it prompts them to pay it sooner rather than later.
When you say the clock started
Yeah,
90 days ago, it's been a reluctance of the administration itself to get out proper notification for that 90 days to start. And all I'm saying,
There was some
Why we've
internal
been
delays that
kind of
caused.
delayed getting the agreements and everything together. We've used up about 60 days of that 90. And the whole intent is when we talked at the board, we'd give them 90 days from the date of official notification of what their alternatives were.
So
And
in
that's why
all
I said
fairness,
yes.
Okay,
we're
I
trying to
didn't
just
catch that, so
keep
I
that
appreciate
window
that.
as true as we can, and in hope that people will see that there's definitely a financial benefit to participating in the program at any level.
So an official notice will then be going out to them, and
It
so
did
that,
go out the beginning of December.
it did, okay.
But because the deadline was the end of December, I felt reasonable that we should give them that 90 days and extend that to March 20th of 2017.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Jerry, did you make a motion on that?
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 16, amending Resolution 16026, 16027, and 16028, also known as Resolution 16047.
I have a motion,
Support.
I have support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Okay. At this moment in time, we'll go into trustee comments. And I would like to be the first in a, yes, Mr. Glenn?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. First to say that I am very humbled and privileged to be your new supervisor in his position, and I'm very grateful to have the board that I'm working with. There are a lot of very good people that genuinely care about the township and what happens to it and everyone in it. I would also like to welcome Liz Smith to our board as our newest member.
Thank you.
And I know that she has a dedication to this community that goes without question. So that being said, I would like to take this moment to say thank you very much and to wish everyone a very healthy and happy holiday season and a blessed Christmas. Mr. Clerk.
I'd also like to just take a moment to congratulate you. I know this first meeting, a little bit different, but whatever. Also, Liz, congratulations to you.
Thank you so
And
much.
to all of the members of the board got reelected. We do have a good board, and I'm looking forward to some good things happening.
Very good. Mr. Powell.
I want to thank you as well, Rick. A good job leading this first meeting. I appreciate that very much. Great job. I wanted to see whether or not maybe the planning staff or the IT department, if we could utilize our screen a little bit more than just having the document that everybody in the audience already has, the agenda. So if we could maybe, it's not tough to scan in the items that they might not have the information on, and so it'd be great if we could utilize that. I couldn't help but notice that Representative Jim Runstead is here. Wanted to identify and thank you for coming to the meeting tonight, Jim.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to thank the board, at least because I haven't been to my first meeting yet, to appointing me to the ZBA. I'll do my very best, and I hope I don't regret that sometime in the future. That is a very, very tough board to serve on. So, and then I wanted to certainly wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all in the audience, and certainly those on tape and all the residents here in White Lake Township. And please be very careful on using our lakes. There are a great deal of lakes. The ice is not formed totally yet, so please be very, very careful. Watch the kids going out on the water. So, thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Me?
Mr. Ruggles.
Oh, well, yeah, thanks. Good job, Rick. And that's going to take some getting used to. Mike's over there. Liz is here. I can see Mike.
You got
now.
the best deal, I'll tell you.
So quiet. It's quiet over there.
Not for long.
Give her time, Mike.
That's right.
So, yeah, Merry Christmas, and that's it. Thanks.
And I'll switch with you any day, Scott. Because I gave Mike rules already for the
Yes.
evening to sit next to me. And welcome Rick and Liz again, and everyone have a great holiday also.
Liz?
Well, I of course want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, all the residents, a very happy holidays. And I want to again thank everybody for honoring me with and entrusting me as your new trustee. I've been very warmly welcomed, and I want to thank each and every one of you for that. I feel very comfortable, and I'm very much looking forward to working with each and every one of you. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and if I may, Mr. Supervisor, I do have just a little something for each one of you, if that's okay. Is it okay if I stand up?
Oh.
I just
wow,
want to wish
thank
you a
you.
Merry Christmas. I'm very happy to be on the board with you.
Santa's coming early.
Hey, that's right.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz. I hope there's no calories in here.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's not a big chocolate bar.
Thank you.
He means that.
Mr. Roman.
Kind of same thing. Happy holidays to the board. Looking forward to another 4 years. Happy holidays to everyone. Jim Runstead, thanks for coming. Carol Burkhardt, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I know you're with us. It's been an honor to work with Rick as our new supervisor. I think we're all going to see some great things happen in this township. I am extremely excited to be working with Rick. And that's it.
Well, you're making it a tough sell. You better be careful when you push out there. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, again, I would like to thank everyone for coming to tonight's meeting. And we are going to go into executive session. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I
Gotta
apologize.
do that.
Word for word.
I move to recess into executive session to consider the purchase or lease of property in accordance with MCL 15.268, subparagraph D.
I have motion. Support.
Roll call vote.
Support.
Roll call.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Ruggles?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees?
Yes.
Liz Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr.
Yes.
Cobalt?
We'll take a couple-minute recess.
Good job.
Nice job. Probably the shortest. Right?
Okay.